Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another breakfast chat. And today I'm having, no, it's not bison or steak, it's chicken thighs, white rice, and cranberry juice. Breakfast of champions. Alright, I'm going to do a video that several of my clients and a friend have all asked me to do. Kind of a big topic in certain circles. There's a big debate again between Dr. Mike and Lyle McDonald. You know, I'm going to do something that Lyle really won't appreciate because Lyle doesn't like me. I don't particularly like him. I think he's a brilliant guy. Don't particularly like him. But here's how knowledge works. If you decide whose information or data or knowledge is correct based on if you like them or not, you're an idiot. You're an idiot and you're going to stay ignorant the rest of your life. That's not how this works. This whole volume debate that came out between these two people, which really was kind of an extension of Dr. Brad's colorful research, explaining how 45 sets per week per body part produced more hypertrophy, even though his data didn't actually show that. You know, it spawned a whole debate, gosh, over a year ago. Lyle had said, you know what, I've been saying for many years that 10 to 12 hard sets per week per muscle group will stimulate maximum hypertrophy. No one wants to acknowledge that. I'll acknowledge that. He's actually right. Okay? Not only is he right on this one, he has been consistently right on this over a decade. Okay? He's been right on this one for a pretty long time. And no matter what you or I think about it, the overwhelming majority of the data supports that. I'm not talking about a few fringe studies coming out of certain circles, because Dr. Brad's stuff conflicts with it, but it conflicts with the larger body of evidence, which creates a problem. That means there needs to be more scrutiny of his data. It conflicts. It's not compatible with the larger body of evidence. Okay, that creates a problem, because you have to figure out why. Something is wrong. And I think we can look at the data and we know what's wrong. Not really the best study in the world. So, the data supports him. In fact, go look at all the women's German volume studies. That's some interesting data. Okay. Data supports him. The anecdote of a lot of good coaches supports him. And let me be clear there. Coaching is my full-time gig. Okay. I am a strength coach by profession. It's what I do. YouTube is a side thing for me, and it has been for quite a while. Okay. That's the sort of volumes I use for my clients, for my drug-free clients. Mikey, who you guys have all seen, and you guys have seen a lot of my clients, I produce a lot of thick, strong athletes, and a lot of those guys you see putting up close to elite numbers aren't even power lifters. Okay? They're not even power lifters. Yet, they're hitting elite numbers on the big three. Okay? You guys have seen Mikey, and everyone's like, wow, Mikey is stacked. Mikey is a lifetime drug-free. And he's not even a power lifter. He doesn't even compete. Right? He should. You should think about it. We don't go over 20 sets a week for Mike. Depending on how you break down the speed work. Because I count speed work as half sets. Okay? What does he average? On average, about 15 sets per body part per week. They're hard sets. I program them all, most of them off percentages. We don't use RPE. They're percentage-based and AMRAP-based, which means AMRAP, you go to failure. You guys have seen some of his full workouts. In fact, I'm going to do one probably the end of this week. He's stacked. He's drug-free. Here is the big problem we run into with this debate. And Lyle owned Mike pretty bad the other day. I don't know who all saw the video or not. You can go to Lyle's page and see it. He owned him pretty bad. It was pretty brutal. And I don't see a good rebuttal to that. I don't think Mike is going to be able to have a rebuttal to that. I wouldn't if I was in his position. I would actually just ignore it. Be the smartest thing Mike could do. Just pretend it didn't happen. Because there's no way he comes out of that looking good. But, he pointed out that, hey, Mike, if you use enough gear, you can do that. And that's a problem we come to. Most of my clients are drug-free lifters. My guys who do use are all very, very low dosers. Okay? I have a very lucrative coaching business. I can't afford to give bad information out. Okay? It would not be good for my business. So when you have guys like Mike, and this came up the other day, of some of my people in my comments were like, well, Mike had said that if you leave 5 reps in reserve, but you do 10 sets of 10, you'll get a lot of muscle growth. Maybe. Maybe if you go and stop exactly 5 reps short, not 7 or 8, and you do 10 full sets, you'll probably get some decent hypertrophy out of it. But what happens if you do 70%? Because I think the number he brought up, he had said something like 60%. Okay, 60% is about a 15, 16 rep max. You're not getting any growth from the first few sets. Zero. Unless you up the dose, bro. Now, I'm not going to state this implicitly, but Mike has more or less implied that he stacks insulin with his special supplements. I don't know anyone who is a casual or moderate doser who uses insulin. It doesn't work that way. That's usually guys who are using a lot. Stack that in. Probably train however the hell he wants and grow. You could probably just do a few sets of jumping jacks to failure and gain some muscle. Pretty good amount on a stack like that. The issue we come to with that is, look, 60% for 10 sets of 10. You could produce just as much hypertrophy, because again, look, you guys have seen Mike's workouts, for example. I have him do a lot of sets of 10 on accessory work. It's 70%. And I have different ways that we extrapolate that for maxes on lifts that we haven't maxed on. And then followed with AMRAPs. So he will do 2 sets of 10 at 70% and then do a set to failure. And it might be 11 reps, 12 reps. If he can get 13 or 14, though, we've got a math problem, right? We're not at 70% anymore if you're doing that for a third set. So again, as a coach, I know to program off that, right? This whole topic of reps in reserve, well, until you actually do take a set to failure, you don't know. If we have maxes, we can always program off current maxes. Otherwise, you can use AMREPs. You can use AMREPs to kind of determine where your strength is and how you need to adjust programming. And as I've said in the past, I've said this in a podcast I did. Because I have my lifters video everything, I look at bar speeds. Okay, that's how I tell if my lifters are sandbagging on a max. If you did that squat in 1.9 seconds, that was not a max. You need to put another 20 pounds on the bar. Okay, you did not max. You're sandbagging. And the same thing on an AMRAP set. They get to rep 11 and they say that's all I can do, but they did the rep in 1.8 seconds on a squat or a press of some type, or squat or press variation, because I don't have my people usually reps on deadlifts. Then we know that they're sandbagging. That wasn't really an AMRAP. The bar does slow. Lyle is right. The data supports this. The practice of good coaches supports this. I actually time lifts. So I can look at that and say, okay, how many seconds did it take on the camera for them to complete that rep? And I know how hard they strained based upon that. Pretty easy to do when you have data to analyze. But back over to that point. Okay, if you do 3 sets of 10 at 70%, you are going to produce very large amounts of muscle growth. Very large amounts of muscle growth. You do 2 sets for a body part in a workout, 2 different exercises with 3 sets of 10 at 70%, odds are you're going to be approaching pretty close to maximal hypertrophy for that muscle. Okay, so you take a set of flat bench, flat bench, and an incline bench. You do 3 sets of 10 at 70% of your max. Maybe see if you can squeeze out more reps on the 3rd set. You do that for those 6 sets, your chest is going to get near maximum stimulation. You can substitute one of those for a dumbbell or weighted dips or whatever. You're hitting that muscle from 2 different angles with nice big movements, with high quality sets. Okay, that 6 sets will produce near maximum growth, if not maximum growth. I mean, look at what I do with my quads. Everyone over here knows that my goal is to get to a 700-pound no-wrap squat. That is my goal coming up in Masters 2. 44 right now. I turned 45 into the year. My goal over the next 3 years is to get to a 700-pound squat. All right. How big are my quads? Everyone freaks out at the size of my quads. How many sets do I do per week for my quads? About 12. And you guys have watched me put 100 pounds on my squat in less than 2 years. About around 2 years. Right? Put 100 pounds on my squat. My quads grow. I do about 12 sets. And you know what? They're hard. You guys have watched me gasping for air. So the point here is that you've got guys like Mike who are pushing junk volume. They're pushing junk volume. And if you're not going to go hard in the paint, you're not going to see the sort of growth you want on that. That was my biggest criticism of 531 with like the big but boring template. It works great on gear. But doing, a heavy set of squats, 1 heavy set of squats, and then 5 sets of 10 at 50%, without gear, you're not going to grow on that. I mean, you guys watched me do sets with 50% on squats after maxing, but it's 20 rep sets, and it's multiple 20 rep sets. You guys remember I came on camera, the same workout, did 605 on the cambered bar squat. The same session after the 605, I went down to 302 and a half, 50%, and I did 3 sets of 20. If I can do multiple sets of 20 at 50%, in what world does anyone think that you are gaining any muscle on sets of 10? I don't care how many sets you do, 10 sets of 10. You're not going to stimulate hypertrophy. It's just junk volume at that point. And if you're willing to up the dose, bro, or if you're a chick, up the dose, ho, you'll gain from that. But if you aren't, you're not going to get bigger from it. At least not any lasting real tissue hypertrophy. It's not how this works. So when you look at these debates here, again, regarding Mike's reps and reserves, no change in bar speed, the arguments over data, I'm sorry, but Lyle is right on all of this. And again, I'm saying that as someone who doesn't like, Lyle is a dick to me. But he's right. The data supports it, the anecdote supports it of good coaches. At a certain point, common sense should support it. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.